and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today. As I promised you, we've got a phenomenal lady in the studio with us today, and she's going to be telling us all about her own life. And today, our class today's theme is from trauma to triumph, and she's going to be telling us about her trauma and how she has become triumphant in it. And the reason I brought Madeleine on today is because I want you to understand that as leaders, we will go through stuff, but then we cannot let those stuff define us. So if you are tuning in, I want you to invite someone to this conversation. I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you already haven't done that, and share this link with someone now to be a part of this conversation. Madeleine Black, you are most welcome today.
Thank you, Gertrude. So lovely to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm just going to tell you viewers a little bit about Madeleine. I'm just going to give a snapshot of Madeleine, and then as she continues to tell us about her story, you're going to know a little bit more about her. Madeleine is a keynote speaker. She's a TED speaker. She's a podcaster. She has a podcast running, which is called the Unbroken Podcast. It's an amazing podcast. You would have to listen to it. I've listened to a few of the stories, and it is inspiring. She's a mom. She's a wife, and she helps people to find their voice. So I hope today, after today, those of you that have had to be silenced, or those of you that think, I don't know how to find my voice, you are going to find the strength within you to find your voice somewhere. Madeleine, usually before we go into the deep stuff, we like to find out an interesting or funny fact about our speakers. So would you tell us something funny about you that nobody knows?
It's kind of funny, but I suppose it's something that people won't know, that I have a black belt in karate.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming. Oh, you're going to say, I'm a great cook. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, that's good. Madeleine, I also have a copy of your book. Madeleine is an author. She's written a book entitled Unbroken. And she's going to be telling us a lot about the book, what inspired her to write the book. And I know this book is about her own personal life, about experiences that she's been in. And she wanted to put this book together to be able to help other people that have been through similar stuff. So Madeleine, would you kindly tell us a little bit about the book, and why now? Why did you decide to write the book? And when did you actually write the book? And how many years after your own personal experience did you think that you're going to put in a book to help someone?
Yes, so you're right. Unbroken is my memoir, and it tells my own story of being gang raped when I was 13. And it really is about my journey of healing, surviving, forgiveness, transformation, and hope. And it was a process. You know, if you told me years ago I would speak out about rape and write about it, I would never have believed you, because I was so silenced by my shame. I just thought if people knew, they would be disgusted, you know, because I had this opinion of myself, which is really from the trauma, that I was worthless, that I was dirty, contaminated, less than. But it got to a point where I just got tired of being ashamed, you know. It was a crime committed against my body. And I had written for somebody about 12 pages. It's a teacher that I used to go to, I still go to, for many, many years. And he asked me to write my story down. And I said, no way, I'm not letting you read it or anyone else read it. And I ummed and ahed literally for 4 years, until one night my fingers just went into automatic and like 12 pages came out of me. And it just kind of appeared. That took me 4 years to write those 12 pages. And then I went to see an amazing woman speak in Glasgow, where I live, called Marion Partington, because I shared my story publicly with the Forgiveness Project, because my story is also one of forgiveness. And most of their events are in London, but this one was in Glasgow at a school about 2 minutes from where I live. So I thought, I can't not go. And she had written a book called If You Sit Very Still, which is beautiful. Her sister was murdered by Rose and Fred West, the famous serial killers in the UK. But she speaks from a place of compassion and forgiveness, and does lots of work in prisons. And I was just mesmerized by the impact she had on the audience, but also then by her book. And inside her book, she had written to me, now you must speak. And the idea was, you know, it came to me, I could share my story. I could speak, because I saw the healing power that comes when we share our stories. And just like when Ema Ho, my teacher, asked me to write my story down, eventually the words flowed out of me. The moment I made that decision to write my story down, just really for me to start with, in about 8 weeks, I had written 70,000 words. So I always say I vomited my book, because it literally kind of spilled out of me onto the pages. I would see all my words at night flying around in my head, and then I'd just sit down in the day and just every day write, and it eventually.
It's like the book was already inside you, just waiting to come out, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and I wonder if that's the same for everybody. But I mean, I left school with no qualifications. I don't have any O-levels in English. I think I might have even scraped a CSE just about. So, you know, I thought, oh, I don't know, but it kind of looks like a book now. And I was very kind of supported by life. I sent it away to publishers. I had about 24 rejections, but within about 3 or 4 months, obviously, I got a contract with a traditional publisher, and then it took a whole year to come out. You've written this book. The publishing process really teaches you patience. You have to learn to be very patient. So it took a year till I saw it out on the shelves, but it was very vulnerable making to start with, because we decided to put all the details in, which we had a lot of conversations with my publishers. Should we put it all in? Should we not? But I thought, if I'm going to tell my story now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know, I don't want to make it easy for people to swallow. We should be disturbed, because this takes place every day somewhere on our planet. A woman, a man, a child will be raped or abused by someone that they know, or a stranger, or every day somewhere on our planet. So I thought, I don't want to, you know, minimize what happened to me, because if I'm going to tell it, I'm just going to tell it. You know, I had tired of keeping it in for many, many years. So that chapter comes with a bit of a warning. It's called All of One Night, that chapter. And it says if you read on, then you'll, you know, be reading all the details. But actually, a lot of people would say to me that they feel they owe it to my 13-year-old self to read what I went through. But I think it's important because people see what I went through, but they also know I survived. And they also know that you can turn your life around.
I think that's the message you want to come out as well, that you survived.
Absolutely, more than survive now. You know, it really doesn't impact on my life at all. It's not easy for anyone that's watching or listening. You know, it's not an overnight fix. Definitely, it's been a marathon and not a sprint. But it is really possible with the right support and then with the right choices that we make. Because I believe, at the end of the day, it's not what happens to us that's important. You know, it's really what we do with it. And I could have chosen, once I had healed myself with all the many, many therapies, to stay stuck as a victim, or I just thought, no, I'm going to be the victor in my life. You know, I just, as you said in the start, I just refused to be identified by what had happened to me. I was just determined to have the best life. And
I mean, just sadly to say, some people are still where they are. I mean, the services that we run services for people with mental health. And I've seen time and time again, referrals come through to ourselves about women. I've got about 3 women that I support who have experienced sexual abuse and have not recovered. Some are in their 50s, they never recovered, and they ended up in psychiatric hospital over and over, and it has just shaped their life and caused one trauma after the other, one experience after the other, or propelled them to end up making a catalyst of wrong choices and wrong decisions that then brings them to the age, one is 54, I've got somebody else who is in their 20s, and it has brought them, and it just can be so difficult.
And I was in all those spaces. I attempted suicide, so I spent some time in a psychiatric ward when I was a teenager. I had my 14th birthday, and I was in there for about 6 months. Heavy eating disorders. I've used drugs and alcohol. You know, I know all those spaces that trauma can take you to, and they haven't just. You said, you know, they might never recover, but they haven't got there yet. So I would never give up on anyone. I think there's always hope, and the more of us that speak out, because it's really. It's the shame that keeps us quiet, and the stigma and the belief that, you know, we're not supported by society. We're told,
no.
You know, you shouldn't have been wearing that, or you shouldn't have been drinking that. But I know now, it took me a long time, underwear doesn't cause rapes, clothes don't cause rape, alcohol doesn't cause rape.
No.
90% of all rapes are caused by rapists, nothing else.
And I think what you're saying is quite important also to listeners. I mean, I would just like to say that we've got to support people. And I know some people get tired, but I've been helping them for the last 10 years and they still haven't recovered. It's not an easy journey. And everyone's recovery is going to be different from the other person. And we should just keep supporting and keep helping and keep encouraging them on this journey, because it's a traumatic thing that has happened to the individual. Can I just, on this note, ask you, at what point in time did you really make up your mind that, you know what, this is not going to define me? I know the whole recovery is a journey, but then at what point was the turning point for you? Because again, accepting what's happened and deciding I'm going to seek restoration or seek some healing, is a long gap there as well.
Well, there's many points. I think recovery is a bit like an onion, and there's many, many layers to our recovery. We peel one layer and we think, oh, I'm great now. And then along comes another year or two, you think, oh, where did that come from? But for me, a massive turning point, which sent me on my healing journey, was reversing my decision to become a mum. Because when I met my husband, I told him, after he asked me to marry him 5 years after we met, that brilliant, but I'm never going to become a mum, because I thought giving birth was going to be like being raped again. I was terrified of the whole process, of men at my cervix, my feet in stirrups. I had all these ideas of how childbirth would be, and I thought the easiest thing, I just won't bother. But I have 3 beautiful girls, obviously, so I've got past that. And I think that is when I thought my best revenge is going to be living my life, becoming a mum, just refusing to be identified. But as I said, I thought that was it. Yeah, I was really okay. I was healed. And then my oldest daughter became 13. I was studying psychotherapy. I was doing tons of personal development, and it all came back. All the memories, the nightmares, the pictures, everything I suppressed just came back. And I just thought I was actually going mad, because I really thought, if this was so bad, I would remember it. But I understand now, because I'm also a psychotherapist, we have an amazing ability in our mind to shut things down that we don't want to see. But actually, I saw then that I had the capability of driving myself mad, because I refused to believe these pictures. I'd worked at Women's Aid for 14 years, rape crisis for 6 years. And I just thought, I've just listened to so many women's stories. I've just somehow immersed all their stories in me, and I'm getting confused. These aren't my memories. I was telling myself all loads of nonsense. I just refused to believe. And actually, the very thing that saved me was directly jumping into the hardest moments in my life. I had to really face everything, because the running, the denying, the minimizing, the non-acceptance, that was keeping me in it. Because what we resist persists, it was never far from the surface. And I was so filled with fear for years. And eventually the way in was actually my way out. So I had to really step into those dark shadows that I had avoided for years.
Wow. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm just looking back at, because again, part of the service users that we look after, again, is trying to signpost them, or trying to help them to overcome the daily struggle that comes with this. And I must say that sometimes I'm out of my depth with what to do, because I don't know what else, how else to support them, or what else to do. And then I think also, because some of the training that I do for my staff is a lot around challenging behavior, because of the past of a past experience of an individual, it manifests in their behaviors, it manifests in how they run their day-to-day life. And a lot of the times I'm training staff, and I'm saying to them, let's not look at the behavior. The behavior is communicating something. They're trying to communicate something from their past. They're trying to communicate something that hurts them. They're trying to communicate a painful experience and stuff like, but it happened 20 years ago. It happened 15 years ago. So you saying this, that so many years later, when you thought everything was okay, it came flashing back.
Yeah. And I think actually it comes back, whether you believe it or not, when you're ready to face it. I went for 3 years. That was the last time I went to therapy, and I hated every session, because I knew what I had to face. And, it was not an easy time. It was really difficult. I threw up in the sessions. I was shaking. I was so caught in my denial. And my therapist said to me, because I just refused to believe all that I was showing. And he said, well, why would you make it up? And I think, I don't know. I just must have had a strange mind. And he recommended that I went for maybe some alternative therapies, just to kind of complement the talking therapy. So I went for therapeutic massage. That was one of the first things I tried. And I was laying on the massage couch, and I heard this person screaming and shouting and fighting and crying with the therapist. And I just thought, a lot of noise. Who's making all that noise? And then I realized it was me. It was all coming from me. And it showed me how our body stores the trauma. It's not just in our mind. It's not just an emotion. It's a real physical feeling when it gets triggered, which is why when we do get triggered by a smell or a sight or a sound, our heart races, we feel dizzy, we feel sick, because it's very physical. It's right down in the core of ourselves. So for me, the talking therapy was great, but the path then led me on to try all these, not even alternative, but different therapies. Therapeutic kind of body therapies really showed me, actually, even though I was so embarrassed by making all this noise, it showed me I could trust my body. I couldn't trust my mind at that point because I thought I was going a bit crazy, but I thought, there's no way I would respond like that, shaking and shouting and crying with someone I didn't even know. So I had to really trust my body, and it was a really good way to release the trauma, just to try all these other therapies.
Wow. I mean, I think the point of notes to take from here is, I mean, I know a lot of the people that listen to my podcast as well is, again, I'm saying this not so much in a negative way. I'm saying this because I'm a Ghanaian myself. I'm saying this because I'm from Africa. And I remember my chiropractor asked me, are you stressed? I said, come on now. We don't get stressed in Africa. It's impossible to get stressed. So I'm not. So we live in a lot of denial, even day to day, because we have been through so much that we begin to accept it and embrace it and accept it. And also we feel that if I acknowledge that I'm struggling somewhere, it means I'm weak. It means that I'm not fit. I just want you to understand that therapy is not that. If you are struggling somewhere, if you've got to seek therapy, because therapy will then help you to become a better version of yourself. It will put you in a better place. I saw a quote in your book. You said, you gave a quote and I really liked it and I wanted you to tell us about it. You said that we are not just the event of our lives. We are so much more.
Yeah. That's really what I came to the conclusion after those last 3 years of therapy. I thought, well, I'm not my body, really, am I? I'm not the things that were done to me. That was a crime committed against me. Are we even our body? Are we even our name? And none of us are the events in our life. Yes, the events will influence our life and they can hang about like bad weather, but actually we're not those events. That's not who I am. I really believe that the true essence of who I am, that fire in my belly, that, whatever, that essence we are born with, that pureness is underneath all that trauma. We just need to find it and dig it out. And that's who we are. That essence can never be touched by whatever happens to us.
There's another question that I really wanted to ask you. I know that you said you've been through therapy and it's an ongoing thing. Were there times where you experienced setbacks in your therapy? And were there times that you felt that, because you've mentioned that come 30, when your daughter was 13, it brought all the flashbacks. How can one pick themselves up? Because I run a ladies group as well. And some of the things that sometimes people ask is, how do I come back from a set when I fall back on myself? When I fall flat, how do I pick myself up?
Yeah, well, for me, that night, I very much left my body. It was like an out-of-body experience because I think I was so close to being killed by them. And because I've done a ton load of therapy and I've done a lot of body work, I realized that when I am not grounded, then I'm not really present. All I can do really is to ground myself as much as possible, to plant my feet firmly on this planet by using my breath, really, by connecting with my breath. And in that moment, using my breath just to connect. And that's all it is. You don't need an app. You don't need a music. You don't need to be anywhere. We have our breath with us all the time. But my breath can center me and it can bring me back to this moment, because I saw my imagination was fueling my fear. Fear was my friend for years. Everything scared me. But my fear was based on what had happened to me or based on what could happen. But if I use my breath to connect and ground myself right here in that moment, right now, there's nothing for me to be scared of. There's nothing fearful happening in this moment. I'm okay. And that's what I do. Whenever I feel myself going out of my body because of fear or panic, anxiety, bring yourself back, but you have to
into the moment.
work on your awareness. You know, you have to see where you're getting caught. You have to see where you go off and line yourself up again, because it was all about lining up my mind with my body, because they were like this, you know, for years. One was here and one was there, and it's about just lining up. And by doing that, it's just by being centered and grounded and connected to this earth.
Am I fair in saying that your husband has been quite supportive of your journey to help you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been together 37 years now, quite a few years. And yeah, he's brilliant. And I really believe that he was an angel sent to save me, because I just think if I hadn't met him, my life, I was doing more and more drugs, you know, putting myself into dangerous positions. It was just, I was not in a great place.
Just trying to numb the pain, really.
Absolutely. And I was very promiscuous because I was too scared to say no. I thought if I said no, it would get violent. So, you know, and then that earned me a reputation. So it was just a horrible cycle I was in. So yeah, meeting him completely changed the course of my life for good. Absolutely. Wow. And
that's amazing.
Of all the therapies that I've done, and I've done some interesting ones, but he said if it supports you, if you need to do it, then just do it. So he's great.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I know you've got the podcast, the Unbroken podcast. When did you start that? Because I was looking through and I could see up to about 40 something.
Yeah, this week.
So and I thought I'm going to binge on this. So I started listening to quite a few. I think I got to about number 5. But then it was just so interesting. And I'm thinking, oh my God, where is this? But what made you go down that route?
Well, a couple of years ago, I decided to stop working as a psychotherapist because I was asked to speak more and more. And just before lockdown, you know, I had the best position ever. I'd never been a closing keynote. It was in a fantastic speakers conference in Namibia, in the days when we could travel. And it was like my career was going up here. And then lockdown came in, and then it was like, oh, okay. It paused everything. It emptied my diary like anyone in the events industry. And I thought, what the flip am I going to do now? And I'm very lucky. I know an amazing amount of people that have incredible stories, because I'm connected to the Forgiveness Project. I'm also connected to the Global Resilience Project, who Emma Bell runs it, and she's taken 50 of us that are thrivers, and she's looked to see what do we do that makes us thrive, and she's got 9 elements. Her book is called 9 Secrets to Thriving, and it's to use for, it's like a blueprint for mental health, for businesses, for anyone that wants to learn to thrive. I mean, we don't do all 9 elements, but a lot of us do a lot of similar things. So I think mine really were forgiveness, acceptance, gratitude. You know, these are the main ones I can think of. And lockdown, as you know, in the UK to start with, was just miserable. And everybody was fear-riddled because we were all looking at these numbers rising and the deaths. And I just thought, I just wanted to do something to bring some hope, some positivity, some motivation to inspire people. And it's called Unbroken, Healing Through Storytelling, because I believe in the power of storytelling. You know, I think if somebody hears a story at the right time in their life, it can transform that person's life, and it can give them their own map for their own journey to heal as well. When you hear the immense difficult situations that my guests have been in, and they've overcome them, and not just overcome them, they're thriving and they're making a difference for others. You think, well, if they can do that, then I could do it as well. And that was the reason, really. So it's purely to serve other people, and it's been fabulous because I get to sit in this wonderful energy interviewing these people, then I share their messages, and it's now in 66 countries, which shows me that we all love stories. You know, storytelling.
Oh, so it's now in 66 different countries.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Good. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Oh my God, I didn't know it's gone that wide. That's amazing. I was listening to Natalie's story yesterday. I mean, I remember reading it vividly in the news at the time when it happened. So listening to her talking to you now, I was so amazed in how far she's come and how much recovery that she's been through, and how well she is doing. And there's a phrase that people say, I'm not my past. What does that phrase mean to you? Or I am better than my past?
Yeah, I guess I'm not what happened to me, you know. For a long time, I thought I was defined by rape, and I'd always be that broken, damaged person. But I'm not. I'm not, you know, as we said before, we're not the events in our life. I'm not my past. Even though my childhood up until that point actually was okay, but even though from 13 on it was not great, that doesn't mean that the rest of my years have to be defined by my past. We all have the ability to change the story. We can choose how we want to live the rest of our lives. And if anything now, I would say I have post-traumatic growth. I had PTSD for many, many years, but now it's really grown me, I guess, because it's shown me how much strength is inside and how much resilience. And I am not a superhuman. We all have that ability to choose to move on from whatever's happened to me. It doesn't serve me any purpose to be caught in that trauma anymore. But it takes a long time to see that you're caught. So it's a bit of a paradox, because you have to see that you're caught, and then you think, well, what do I do with it? Am I going to stay stuck in these patterns, or am I going to change it? And I just got tired of being tired, tired of being traumatized. So I made the choice eventually to change my mindset, change my life, challenge the things that my mind were telling me that lied to me, challenge all the fears. And eventually I saw that life's for living. Life is not for hiding in the shadows. I want to live my life as best as I can. And I don't know whether that comes from being very nearly killed, because I'm so grateful for my life. This life, we're here. If you look at the planet and all the billions of years, we're here for nanoseconds. 10 nanoseconds in the grand scheme of things. And what are you going to do with your life? How are you going to live it? And I want to have a good one.
Okay. I mean, leaders, viewers, we are not a sum total of our past. Neither can we continue to live in the past. And I acknowledge it. And as Madeleine is saying, we've all been through something, or you may have been through something. You cannot let that whatever trauma that you've been through continue to rob you of your life. I mean, you cannot. It cannot continue to rob you. This life, we've got just the one. Yes, some things happen that took away 10, 15 years of your life, but you've got to make that decision today. I know it's not going to be an easy journey from what we're hearing from Madeleine. It's not an easy journey. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but you've got to make that decision that I will not wallow in self-pity. I will not wallow in the pain. I will not wallow in the rejection. I will not wallow in fear. I will not wallow in the failure, but I am going to turn this around for good. I am going to package everything that I've been through, and I'm going to use it to push myself and live a better life. There's something you said also when I was listening to your TEDx. You're talking about the Forgiveness Project, where you were asked to forgive the perpetrators of what happened, and you thought, come on, this is unimaginable. This is unbelievable that I'm being asked to do this.
I wasn't asked to forgive them. My therapist said to me, maybe they weren't born rapists. And that made me really angry. I thought, how dare he say that? And I always call myself an accidental forgiver, because I never intended to forgive them. Because before I'm in the space I am now, I don't recognize the person that I used to be. I was filled with hate and anger, revenge, bitterness, sarcasm. I was just horrible, really short and just nasty. But that was the trauma, and that was my holding on, refusing to let go of it. And when he said this to me, it just planted this little seed in my head. And I just wanted to understand how two young men, not really much older than me, could be so violent. What had they seen or heard or experienced? And it's not about excusing rape. I would never, ever forgive the act of rape, because it is a total violation on my mind, my body, my psyche, which impacted me, for decades. But I could just forgive them. I think of forgiving, the word is forgiving. So it's forgiving me a better chance. I didn't need to have a meeting with them. I didn't need them to write me a letter. I didn't need to, see them. I could make that decision in my heart quietly for myself, because it really allowed me to cut any links to them. It allowed me just to cut the chains from my past. It's an act of self-love. It's an act of self-compassion. And it set me free. It was my key to freedom. So forgiveness was always for me, always, nothing to do with them. But it really just allowed me to let go of it all. And that ultimately, when we can let go of things, and then we can start to think about how can we help other people, then you've stepped out of your own trauma, and that you're healing, when we can see the bigger picture. And it was about understanding for them. I don't believe they were born that way, and life conditioned them. And somehow that's when I felt I guess, compassion in my heart towards them, because they have to live with what they did to someone. And I don't think that's easy, but that's their journey. So I've got no desire to see them, to sit down and have a lunch with them, but I don't wish them any harm. There's no hate in my heart towards them anymore.
Wow.
The hate was like me drinking poison and expecting them to die.
To die, yeah. And you're the one. Forgiveness has brought a better recovery for you.
Absolutely. It was almost like my final piece, but I'm not a forgiveness preacher. There's many paths to healing, but for me, it just set me free. Absolutely. Changed something completely inside of me.
So looking at your book and looking at all the speaking engagement that you've been going on, I'm sure there's been some amazing stories that people have said to you. Because I just want somebody to know out there that finding your voice and speaking is helpful. Yeah. It helps other people. And are there any stories that let us, one or two people that you want to share that you've been able to impact their life? Your story has been able to cause them to kind of come out of their shell, or cause them to seek therapy, or help them to seek forgiveness, or help them to be able to look at life through a different prism.
Yeah, every time I speak, I am contacted by someone either there in the break at the end or afterwards. But one particular time I was very, very lucky. I've been interviewed by incredible people, and I was interviewed for Radio 4 by Sir Trevor McDonald, which was obviously fabulous. I was so honoured to meet him and to be interviewed by him, and the interview was great. But afterwards, my friend told me her mum had been listening to the show, and her mum was 81. And to cut a long story short, she ended 64 years of silence. She had never, ever told anyone, and she told her daughter that she had also been raped as a teenager. Wow. And my friend says it's just changed her mum. She's, unrecognizable to the woman she was before. She's lighter, she's more energized, and she shares other things with her now that she didn't know. So to me, that's my evidence. That's all I need to carry on speaking out, because just hearing one person, a woman on the radio, and she just thought, I'm going to find my voice. And my friend said, without a doubt, she would have taken her story to the grave with. And that, every time I think about it, it just like, wow, it's quite incredible.
Viewers, I just want to say, if you've got a story to tell, I think you should contact Madeleine. I don't have a great story to tell, but I'm sure you've got a story to tell that's so going to help someone. And I'm sure many of us are carrying books on the inside of us as well. And you're thinking, oh God, I don't have a degree, I don't have a qualification, I may not be able to write, but just start putting it down. And I'm sure you can find editors to help you to put it, because somebody out there needs to hear that story. Somebody out there who was flat on the ground needs to hear that I'm not the only one. It's not something about me that caused this situation in my life, but other people have experienced it and they have been able to recover. And like Madeleine is doing, other women are recovering. Other women are looking at her and saying, if she can do it, I can do it. If she can pick herself up, I can pick myself up. If she can go on to get married, to have children, I can do it. If she can have a great career, then I can do it too. So your story is not just for you. Your story is not just about you, but it's for the good of humanity. So if there's anyone out there, I would encourage you to be able to do it. Viewers, we've come to an end of today's session. I'm just going to give Madeleine the 2 minutes to give us tell us anything else that she thinks that she should tell viewers, or anything else that she wants viewers to know, to help us on our journey, to help leaders again, a lot of the things that we do is geared towards leadership. So leaders that are out there wanting to make a difference in life, some of the things that you can do. Any advice that Madeleine's got for us before we close today's session, Madeleine?
Sure. I would just say to anyone that's listening, if anything that I've said has resonated for you, really pretty much just like what you said, it's never too late to get support. It's never too late to find your voice and to stop holding yourself back, because I think when we don't speak out, we really hold ourselves back. So if you're listening and it's done something to you, go and find support. And if you can't find a therapist, find a friend. And if you can't find a friend, write your story down for yourself. Stop denying your story and just release all the stuff that you're holding on to, because it will alter your life completely when you're able to give it oxygen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and on LinkedIn. And have a wonderful week. We'll meet again next week when I've got another amazing guest in the studio that will be talking to us everything about leadership. Have a wonderful week.